Unexplained encounter. I've only told a few people about this incident that took place in the late 80s. I'm not looking for an explanation, nor can I offer any proof. I just want to share what my friend and I experienced in the autumn of 1987. I grew up in one of the northernmost states in New England, about 2 hours away from the White Mountains and 45 minutes from our state's meager coastline. In a small working-class city, General Electric and a tannery were two of the largest employers. I think it was early October. Leaves starting to change but still on the trees. Local fairs underway and cool enough to rock my HS varsity jacket. I worked full-time and was saving up for my first car. A 76 two-door Chevy Nova festooned with a Pink Floyd tapestry to cover the huge tear in the back seat. My friend Joe and I worked in the same restaurant, and an older cook would buy us hard-earned libations and give us a ride home. Really, he would drop us off at a cemetery that was the midway point between our two houses and a great place for underage drinking. We were dropped off there with a 4-pack of Bartles and James wine coolers to split between us. It's an old, large cemetery with rolling hills, moss-covered headstones, and large maple trees. I grew up playing hide and seek and having BB gun wars there. I even taught an army buddy how to drive stick in that cemetery. It was never a scary or haunted place to me, even after the weirdest experience of my young life took place there. There was a gazebo where we would sit and drink beers or wine coolers. It was open-aired with half walls and benches to sit on while we chatted and drank. All we had between us was that one 4-pack, so we were not drunk or under the influence of anything else. We began hearing footsteps coming in our direction. They sounded like someone walking in leaves. It later occurred to me just how odd that was, as the leaves were still on the trees and the cemetery was well maintained. "Cops!" Joe hissed, and I answered, "Kids." The footsteps came closer. We couched below the half wall facing each other, the smiles on our faces growing more and more nervous until they disappeared altogether. The footsteps came at a measured pace. No other sound accompanied them. No jingling of keys, no fabric brushing against each other, and there was no beam of a flashlight flitting about. The footsteps kept coming. I could see my mounting fear echoed in Joe's face. Before we crouched down, we tried to see who was walking towards us and couldn't. But that was to be expected. It was a moonless night with little ambient light available. With our eyes wide and mouths agape, the footsteps came all the way up to the other side of that half wall and stopped. Joe visibly sagged, and I began to shake as neither one of us had the courage to look up at what had to be surely peering down on us. The footsteps began to recede, and we popped up immediately to see who it was. It was nobody, literally nobody. We could see where the footsteps were coming from, but there wasn't anybody making them. It was dark, but it wasn't pitch black. We would have seen a person. Ducking behind tombstones, we followed the steps a little ways downhill until they stopped. We took that as our cue to leave. We both sprinted home. The next day at school, we agreed that it was weird, and that was that. We didn't tell anyone and went on with our lives. We weren't drunk or stoned or been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and our carbon monoxide detectors had fresh batteries. I have no explanation for this, and neither do you. The 80s were a magical time, and some days contained a little more magic than others.